The New York Rangers have a golden opportunity at their fingertips, and will Chris Drury take full advantage of this opportunity or follow the same path he has been so far this season? Since the turn of the calendar year, this team has been rolling. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 74% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so if you're a diehard New York Rangers fan, if you want to stay up to date with everything going on with the New York Rangers, it's free. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, the Rangers, I believe, have a golden opportunity sitting at their fingertips right now, and that is to make the playoffs this season. I know a lot of people watching this video right now are probably rolling their eyes or groaning because I've seen a lot of you in the comments. I think it's split. I think people don't want to make the playoffs, and when I say people, Rangers fans don't want to make the playoffs, and half of the fan base does want to make the playoffs, and this is my case for why they should, and we're going to break it down here right now. The schedule coming up here tonight, they play the Columbus Blue Jackets at home. Columbus, we'll get into it obviously with some of these matchups, a team that you're actively chasing in the wild card race. Back to back, tomorrow you play in Montreal, another team that you're actively chasing in the wild card race. It doesn't get easier. You're playing Ottawa, another team that you're in the mix, in the race with. Philadelphia, another team that's in the mix, in the race there. So the schedule certainly does, first of all, not get easier. And second of all, you have to win almost all of these games if you want any chance of making the playoffs or at least staying in the race. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, I mean, besides the Atlantic Division, I think the Metropolitan Division, the top maybe 3 spots, are locked up right now. And what, Zach Werenski is doing in Columbus is crazy right now. They're on a roll as well. But if you look at the Rangers down there in 8th place, 45 points, they're in the mix. There's a bunch of teams in the middle there that they're just 3 points behind. A couple of them, they play coming up here like Montreal, like Ottawa. They're in the mix here. If you can pick up a big win against Columbus, you close that gap as well. You move to 47. Columbus stays at 50. So it's a big game. And then like I mentioned, right after that, against the Montreal Canadiens, right? If Montreal loses tonight to Toronto, then they stay at 48 points. You close that gap to 1 point. So the Rangers, if you look at the schedule, like I said again, mixed with the standings, crazy opportunity sitting in front of them right now to close that gap and jump into a playoff spot by mid next week if they take full advantage of what's sitting in front of them. They are not dead yet. And, against the Ottawa Senators too on early next week, they're sitting at 48 points right now as well. So great opportunity for the Rangers here. They also have a couple games in hand on teams like Philadelphia, like Pittsburgh, like Columbus right now. And it's only 1 game in hand. There is a back-to-back this weekend, so they'll probably catch up. But great opportunity here for the New York Rangers to make the playoffs. And I know a lot of people probably, again, looking at your computer screen right now, watching on your TV, whatever you're watching on, going, why would the Rangers want to make the playoffs? A lot of people don't want to make the playoffs. My argument is, with how tight the Eastern Conference standings are this year, you don't want to finish 4 points out of the playoffs. That doesn't get you a better draft pick. Like, either tank completely or make the playoffs, I think. And with them being this close to the playoffs and the only 2 pieces they're missing essentially from last year, we can count Capo Caco if you want, but it's really just Jacob Trouba and Barclay Goodrow. The rest of the team is essentially the same. Sam Carrick's putting in some good work as of late as a 4th liner. So if you squeak into the playoffs and the team starts to figure it out, there's a great opportunity there. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know if it's a Stanley Cup, but I think there's a great opportunity for an upset there. So I think they have to take full advantage of what's sitting in front of them this week. And like I mentioned, Sam Carrick putting in that work on the 4th line recently. They have been difference makers for the New York Rangers. Edstrom's been scoring some goals after a lot of question marks around his playing time and the fact that he was even in the lineup. So love that. Obviously, Carrick was going off the last 2 weeks. He's been awesome. That 4th line's been awesome for the Rangers. Almost won them a couple games outright this past week alone. Kaliev, didn't get to mention it in a previous video, gets his first goal as a New York Ranger against Utah. So he's going to be hungry again. He wants to continue scoring. Something that is very interesting with this player, he's barely played in the NHL this year, right? Like, we can take a look at his stats so far this season. He's only played 4 games in the NHL so far this year. He has 1 goal, which he obviously scored last game. He's averaging just under 11 minutes, just a hair under 11 minutes of ice time. And he is right now a third liner, but could work his way up the lineup as he continues to, get his feet wet at the NHL level this season and his conditioning gets back. He's only 23 years old. He's only going to turn 24 this year. So there's still a lot here left, I think, with this player that wasn't discovered in Los Angeles. So I still think that there is a lot left to this player that he can show with the New York Rangers, and I think that's something to be excited about. So he scored his first goal the other night. That was great to see, and again, the Rangers are absolutely rolling. If you look at the defense pairings, there are a few weird things going on here. Vakanainen, I can understand now why Laviolette might have him in the lineup over Zach Jones. A little bit of a bigger body, maybe a little bit more experience at the NHL level. Him and Schneider have been good. I would argue that the reason the Schneider pairing is always great in terms of expected goals and all the advanced analytics is because of Braden Schneider, no matter who's playing with him. So I would make that argument as well. I think he's an unreal defenseman. I think if the Rangers are looking to trade for JT Miller, which is the rumor right now, and the return has to be Braden Schneider, you don't make that trade. Braden Schneider is going to be a crazy good defenseman. He's going to have an amazing career, I believe. And when you look at NYR Louis, pretty funny. Ryan Lindgren should be on FBI's most wanted list. Obviously, if you look at the Lindgren-Fox pairing, not great. I used to love this pairing. I think that they were great, in previous seasons. It's not working right now. So very interesting. And even Miller and Borgen right now, not bad when they do play together. It's, it's not ideal, but it's also not bad. And when you look at the top two, again, these are advanced analytics. You have to, factor in ice time to these things as well. Vakanainen and Schneider, third pairing, right? Third pairing in the mix there. So playing a little bit less than everyone else. So keep that in mind. But the vibes are high. The vibes are absolutely high. The handshakes after Snark Messier, I know he says that, Zibanejad must be pissed, but I think the vibes are very high in the dressing room right now. And something very interesting from Johnny Lazarus before we wrap up here is for the New York Rangers fans looking for hope and something to hold on to after the road trip. The Florida Panthers were 21-20-5 on January 17, 2023, the year that they just snuck into the playoffs with 1 point, right? They were up 1 point on, I think it was Pittsburgh at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, but they went all the way to the Stanley Cup final that year, and they just snuck in to the playoffs. They had a great second half, and the New York Rangers, as of today, or January 17th, I should say, yesterday, are 21-20-3. So very similar records at the same point in time. The Rangers have been playing some great hockey since 2025 started. So if they can continue to build off that, if that can snowball, if that momentum continues, they can put together a pretty good second half of the season here. I think it's a great opportunity that they have. And I think they should actually try and make the playoffs because they can make some noise. Again, these guys didn't forget how to play hockey. It was a mental thing. It was a mentality thing in October, November, and December, right? They just got to get back to playing the way that they know how. And I still think that they can, but, we got to see it over a larger sample size right now. So I'm excited to see what they do with the rest of this month and the next 2 weeks. I mean, look at the schedule here. They have a great opportunity here. If they completely, flub this, then maybe there is reason to think, okay, let's just tank and try and get a top 5 pick. There is reason to think that. But depending what they do over the next week or so, they have a great opportunity here to make the playoffs. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Again, if you look at this lineup, I think it's good enough. I think it's good enough to make the playoffs. They just got to get it together here. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. It looks like Shesterkin is going to start again tonight, which means Jonathan Quick will get the red hot Montreal Canadiens tomorrow. So that should be very interesting to see. But let me know what you think in the comments. Should the Rangers take full advantage of this opportunity? And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.